قد زوجوني بنايا الغربة قاسي قد زوجوني بنايا الغربة قاسي قد حملتني الحطب ولم على راسي قد حملتني الحطب ولم على راسي قد زوجوني بنايا بنت خبازة قد زوجوني بنايا بنت خبازة الوجني اسم القمة ولعينها مزة الوجني اسم القمة ولعينها مزة يما ويابا ومسخاكم تبيعوني يما ويابا ومسخاكم تبيعوني يما ويابا يما ويابا يما 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 ويابا. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cantor Stone, and I am the ritual innovator here at Temple Beth Am. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to welcome all of you and to welcome you here to our sanctuary. I just want to quickly say, I just want to harken back to the Parsha we just left this past weekend, Vayakel. In the Parsha, Moshe Vayakel, he gathered together the Jewish people to instruct them on the construction of the Mishkan, the sanctuary. We might call it the early beta version of a sanctuary, the early beta version of a synagogue. And that is where we are today. We are in our Beit Knesset here at Temple Beth Am, which is not only built as a place for prayer, it is a place for gathering. And this event that we're holding here tonight is exactly why we built this space. It is a place where we gather to sing and a place where we gather to learn. And we are so honored to have you here in our Beit Knesset, our place of gathering, to hear from these talented women, to learn and to sing, and to share in your traditions, and to hear from you today. I'm also so grateful for my friend Sarah for bringing these very talented women here. In generations past, I would not have had the opportunity to learn from the culture of these women. And I'm so grateful that we are here in 2024 to be able to experience this music and to learn from this music. So thank you, Sarah, for bringing this here to our Beit Knesset. I am very thrilled to introduce my friend, Sarah Benor, the director of the Jewish Language Project.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. What a great crowd. We're so happy that you're here. I am the director of the HUCJIR Jewish Language Project, and we are honored to be hosting this event. And I just want to thank our sponsors, our co-sponsors, Jemena, Jews Indigenous to the Middle East and North Africa, Temple Beth Am, the Elbaz Family Foundation, the Stoyer family, the Landy family, Cantor Stone, the Carr family, and Saeed and Shora Niku. And all of you for purchasing your tickets and supporting us with your presence. And I also want to thank my wonderful Jewish Language Project staff, Janine Oakman, Hannah Pressman, Eden Moyal, Alan Niku, Sam Miller, Isabel Olazar, Lizzie Frankel, and Ariel Stein. And a little bit later, I'm going to give you more information about the Jewish Language Project and why we do what we do. But first, I want to introduce our singers, and we'll have a little more music before we get to a little bit more information. So Naama Perel-Tzadok is a composer, creator, and scholar known for her diverse musical styles performed globally. She's pursuing a PhD in music composition and theory at the University of Pittsburgh. She explores and pushes the limits of musical styles and traditions, particularly her Yemenite and Tunisian roots. Naama's latest album, Memory Traces, is a song cycle structured around the cycle of life and was inspired by the songs of Yemenite Jewish women. It comprises original instrumental pieces interwoven with songs written in Yemeni Arabic, alternating between traditional and modern sections. And that CD will be on sale in the lobby afterwards, but not as a CD, as a USB drive. Shani Oshri is a versatile soprano singer specializing in classical and neo-traditional Oriental singing. She grew up between two homes, one secular Persian and the other Haredi Yemenite. Shani explores Jewish Middle Eastern identity in the world of Western classical music, the female identity in traditional male-dominated Jewish singing, driven by the desire not to choose but to integrate. After completing her undergraduate studies at Buckman Mehta Music Academy with honors, her path in the world of classical opera was assured. However, at that exact point, she encountered elderly Jewish women in remote corners of Israel and learned ancient singing traditions from them. Israel, right? Okay. Today, Oshri jumps between stages and genres. In a concert at Carnegie Hall last year, she sang the famous aria of the Queen of the Night from Mozart's The Magic Flute, followed by a Ladino ballad. At the Center for Yemenite Jewish Heritage in Rehovot, she sang Shabbat songs by Shabazi alongside classical lieder by Schubert. And now we continue the concert by these wonderful women.
Good evening, everyone. We're so excited to be here. So before we hear more music, I just want to give a brief survey about the Yemenite Jewish women's songs, which is very unique and a little bit under-researched, and this is why we are here today. You can go on. Briefly, the Jewish Yemenite music is very unique and different. You probably know about Yemen, which is even today a very strict country, very close to influences from outside, and it's been like that for many, many years as a country. The Jewish people came to Yemen. There are two different ideas. Where did they come from? They come from apparently from Israel. One suggestion is as saying that the Jewish people came from the land of Israel before the first destruction of the first temple, when they heard the Jeremiah prophecy. So, and then they moved to Yemen. And the other suggestion is that they got to Yemen in the trade relationships with the Shva, with the Queen of Shva. Either way, it's a long, long time ago when Jewish people got to Yemen, and from that time they just lived there until the middle of the 20th century. During the time after the 7th century, when Muslims ruled the country, the social level of the Jews turned to be dhimmi, second stage. Jews under protection, we call it. They needed to pay the jizya, and they had different laws how to react when they see Muslim people walking around them. They had to build lower houses, they couldn't ride horses, they had to differentiate themselves in the look. They had to raise the peos, or simonim, as we call them, just to know that they are Jewish or not Muslim. Regarding the music, I can talk a lot about it, but let's talk about the music. So Yemen as a country, as a global country, was also closed, and the Muslim Yemenite people didn't treat music. They didn't know if it's like the Muslim doesn't have in the Quran a say about music, is it good, is it bad, is it something that we should do or not. So each imam, each ruler decided his own rules about music. Sometimes it was prohibited and you can be arrested if you were playing music publicly, and sometimes it was okay. In the Jewish community, we find another rule. Because if I go back to the first temple destruction and the Jewish people that came from Yemen, then they were still mourning on the first temple, and it was a closed country, so they didn't have idea about that there was a second temple because the rulers didn't let more influence to come. So there was a rule from the rabbis that we shouldn't play any instruments when you play music, because when you play music, when you play instruments, it means that you're happy and it's joy. So if you want to make music, it should be only the use of your vocal or your own voice. So that was one idea why all the entire Jewish music in Yemen was only vocal, except from Aden, which was more connected to the world as a port city. Another reason is that, again, not a lot of musical instruments was inside the highland of Yemen where most of the Jews lived. They lived mostly in the villages. A little amount lived in Sana'a and Taiz in the big cities, but 80% of the Jewish people lived in the villages. So they were distracted from trade, the center distract from Aden, so they don't have a lot of instruments. And in Yemen itself, we know only about like one type of flute, one type of trumpet, and one type of oud that were used locally. So it was also very distinct. So the entire music, the entire Jewish Yemenite music was vocal, only voices. So in the research, we separated music of the Yemenite Jews into three parts. One is the liturgical music, the melodies that are used to practice, to read in the Torah, to read the prayers. The Torah is written in a Taj, the big book, and the prayers in the Tiklal. And these melodies or tunes we say that it came with Moshe, with Moses, Rabbeinu in Har Sinai, and was transformed to him and kept until these days. There are some musical traditions that only Yemenite Jews know, as the Sifrei Emet, Eicha, I forgot my words, and Tehillim, and I forgot wisdom, Eicha, Mishlei, and Tehillim. The second one, I separated, it's the men's songs, even though the liturgical melodies is also just men, because men attended the congregation. The men's songs are in gathering events, and all written in a diwan, which is the big book. That was written by hand, and it had a lot of copies. The songs in the diwan were written in 3 languages, in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Yemenite Arabic, which was kind of respect for the Jews from their Muslim neighbors. And the last one is the women's songs, which we're gonna hear a little bit more. The women's songs were actually just in Judeo-Arabic, and also like in the local dialect of each village. And there were really a lot of influence, you can move on, a lot of influence from the neighbors. So we can skip a little bit because I already talked about the liturgical music. There's some pictures from the men's songs. Yeah, that's okay. I should have looked at you. Okay, so the women's songs, the singer is called Morania, and in plural is Moraniyat. These songs are really interesting because they serve as a live document to the life of the Jewish women in Yemen. And I'm speaking about living in Yemen, not the life in Israel is different. It has a big change once they immigrated. So the social level of the life of the Jewish women were really strict. The women were basically in the house, responsible of the house, responsible of making food, grinding the wheat, taking water from the well, and it's all accompanied by stories, very beautiful stories from my grandmother, which I heard all of it. And they were not, that time, had a lot of freedom or choices in their life. Their parents decided who they're gonna marry. Sometimes it was way older than them. Sometimes it was, most of the times, somebody they didn't like. Sometimes they had a second wife, and there were a lot of troubles and hard life and a lot of responsibilities. All these events, all these experiences found a way into the music, into the songs. And the interesting thing about the songs, I call it the music therapy before it was even invented, because it was always happening in the gathering of a group of women while they were walking to the well and meeting each other, they were singing. While one of the women gave birth, and I will elaborate about that, they were sitting together and singing. And while they were waiting to grind the wheat, because they was always together, a lot of women waiting for the millstones. And sometimes my grandma and her friend Simcha told me there was a lot of cursing in that gathering, because they had to take out all their feelings and all the hard time they had. And it was kind of a rebellious side of those songs. As I already said, these songs was only in Arabic Yemenite, and they had some mixes of like the Judeo aspect of it. The melodies itself were really influenced from the Muslim music for their neighbors. Actually, they lived very close. They heard the wedding songs, the wedding parade. It took like 3 days from going from one house to the other. They heard the song, they heard the melody, and it was influenced in two ways. The Jewish women were influenced by the Muslim women, and the opposite. And adding to that, there was always the special rhythm. Most of the songs were either by the dasa, which we'll present later, which is a 7/8 rhythm, or in like 2/4 or 4/4, if you know in music. And it was always vocal, and the instrument they were using, I actually brought it here and I played it. It's this plate, the tray, sachen, the plate that you used to eat, used to put, the dough before you do the pita, for everything. But it also was an instrument. They were playing on it either with the thimbles or with the rings they had on their fingers to make this percussion sound. And a lot of times it also was added dancing and unique clothes. Each village has its own unique embroiderment to the clothes, his own unique gargush, which was the head cover. This is from a wedding, from the China, and there is one picture of the Sachan, but we have it here. Okay, so let's hear some music. The first song you heard, Yuma Veyaba, Mother and Father, is actually a really popular song even today in weddings, and we sing it and we dance it, and it's really upbeat and happy. But if you look about the words, they're really hard. This is a song about early marriage. A lot of times in Yemen, if kids were orphaned or didn't get married, they had to be to convert to be Muslim, or whatever other reasons, and there were a lot of early marriages, and this song is talking about that. I'm too young to get married, I still have milk on my lips. So this was the first song that we heard. We'll sing now another song. It talks about a longing of a child that to her mother, she is missing her mother. Either it's because she went to the groom's house or from different reasons.
Hey, hey, وانا في دار امي يا الله وانا في دار امي دي بنانتني امي دي بنانتني وما شادت جعادي يا الله وما شادت جعادي ألا ودانتني ألا ودانتني زهقي يا حضرة يا زهقي يا خضرة الله يا موزة الماء الله يا موزة الماء قلبي على يما قلبي مالا يما قلبي مالا يما على ما نشكي يما على ما نشكي وشكي على ربي على وشكي على وحيد وبكي على وحيد وبكي هي هي
The next song is a birth song. It was a special tradition for women after birth to not leave in the house for 40 days, and all the women gathering in the house, bringing her chicken, which was the best food, and like taking the hair out of the braids, and just not letting her do anything, just sit there and recover from the birth. And also the lyrics are really, really hard. She's like describing how the body was almost torn apart during the birth, and how it was really hurt, and how she met the death and almost got to the grave. These are the lyrics, and this is a traditional song. We're going to do it without any instrument except of the plate.
نبدأ باسمع الهوى من العافية نبدأ باسمع الهوى من العافية لو تبتغاني يا خوات ما يتشغل وراوة وحيت لحمي فتاوى وزاد مني خوام لو تبتغاني يا خوات ما يتحيل الولاوات وحيت حقوى يكتسوى والموت مني وغوات لو تبتغاني يا نساء ما يتحيل الولاوات وحيت عظمي فلاوت ودقت على الموات قد كان قبايغي قد كان قبيري افتدى وحوي جابني لايوين وارجع قبيري غلا وقوي غجيدا يم هجر النفا وصل دمات في هواه
The next song is also a very unique song. It's talking about forbidden love. The love that we don't want our parents to know that we are in love, and we don't want them to meet him and want to know him coming to see her. And she's talking, if they're going to see you, they will cut my body and cut my hands. But this is the way she took everything out and all the feelings. And it's really interesting in a lot of these songs, even the love songs, even in the birth songs, there is this calling for God. There's nobody else that I can tell in this but God, because my parents won't listen or anybody else. So a lot of times we start the songs with call for God, and I'll let Shani do it a cappella.
راح قلبي يوم ألام نشكي راح قلبي يوم ألام نشكي أشكي يا ربي اللي خلقني أشكي يا ربي اللي خلقني جننتني واليوم تقول يا قول جننتني واليوم تقول يا عقول محبتك شلات محبة الكون محبتك شلات محبة الكون ثلاث ليالي لو يسمعوا قالي ثلاث ليالي لو يسمعوا قالي لو يسمعوا قالي وجعت عوني لو يسمعوا قالي وجعت عوني قاح قلبي يما لما نشكي قاح قلبي يما لما نشكي أشكي يا ربي اللي خلقني أشكي يا ربي اللي خلقني
gonna do one more love song, but this love song is different. This is a good love, a delicate love. In the case that she actually loved the man she married, and in this, yeah, I'm sorry.
This is my
Yes.
favorite one.
Yeah, sometimes it happened. Sometimes she could marry the person she loved, and it was really, women were supposed to be, gentle and modest and not to talk about the feelings and, physical love. So everything was so subtle and so with a lot of metaphors. So this song is expressing huge love, but in very delicate words.
Thank you, and I have to say that I have surprise because the first time that I heard this song, I was surprised because I know the melody from another Israeli song. And then it's the first time that I understand how much the Yemenite culture really connected to the Israeli culture. Ya Habibi, ya Habibi, ya Jil Jalan al-Khazane. Ya Habibi, ya Habibi, ya Jil Jalan al-Khazane. Shattaka b'haruje, hey law takum al-kayame. Ya Habibi, ya Habibi, ya Jil Jalan al-Khazane. תכלה ציפור כולה את השמש דום עולה פרח נכלה את אביב קוסם קסמו כן יכלה מחמד לבבי הרגתו ברון קולי בין ארבעים פתח אוהלי
Okay, we're going to give these wonderful musicians a little break, and we're going to learn a little bit about Jewish languages. So, as you all know, Jews originated in the land of Israel and moved throughout the Middle East, North Africa, Europe, and parts of Asia. And in each place that they moved to, they picked up the local language and Judaified it, leading to Jewish varieties of languages like Judeo-Arabic in Yemen and North Africa and Syria and other places where Arabic was spoken, Judeo-Georgian, Juhuri in Azerbaijan and Dagestan, Bukharian in Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, Judeo-Spanish or Ladino in Spain, and then the Ottoman Empire, Yiddish in much of Central and Eastern Europe, etc., etc. Now, the two most famous Jewish languages are actually exceptions in this history because they were maintained for centuries away from the places where they originated. So they weren't spoken alongside languages that were quite similar to them, whereas for most of these Jewish language varieties, that was the case. What is a Jewish language variety? It's essentially a non-Jewish base language with distinctive features, especially Hebrew words, but also distinctive grammatical features, pronunciations, and intonations. And so I like to think of Jewish language varieties as existing along a continuum of distinctness. How distinct is the way that Jews speak from their non-Jewish neighbors? And so some of the Jewish language varieties of the past are quite similar to the surrounding languages, like Jewish Amharic and Judeo-French and Judeo-Persian from the Middle Ages, at least according to the written records that have survived. And then on the other end of that continuum, you have the most distinct languages like Yiddish and Ladino because they're spoken alongside languages that are different from them. And along the middle of this continuum, you have various other Jewish languages like Judeo-Greek, Judeo-Malayalam from southern India, Judeo-Italian, Judeo-Arabic. Different varieties of Judeo-Arabic are more or less distinct, and Jewish Neo-Aramaic, which you'll hear more about a little later through personal stories. And so here's a timeline of when each Jewish language variety that we discuss in the Jewish Language Project originated. And I'll let you see this more later, but I just wanted to give you a sense of the diversity of the timing from the 10th century BCE for ancient Hebrew up until the 20th century for Jewish Latin American Spanish and Israeli Sign Language. Now, however, most of the long-standing Jewish language varieties are endangered. Languages like Ladino and Judeo-Amazigh, spoken in Morocco, or Judeo-Alsatian or Alsatian Yiddish, spoken in the Alsace-Lorraine region of what's now France, Bukharian, Judeo-Italian, etc. Krimchak is a Turkic language spoken in the Crimean Peninsula that is critically endangered at the moment. Judeo-Shirazi and Judeo-Esfahani, Hamadani, Kashani, all of the Jewish language varieties spoken by Iranian Jews. And we have here Haide Herbert Ainechi, who is helping us to document these languages, along with Alan Niku. Just raise your hand really quick. The two of them are working very hard to document Iranian Jewish languages, and you'll hear from Alan and also Sam Miller a little bit later. Now, it's interesting to me that most Jews have little knowledge of this diverse linguistic heritage. Maybe they're familiar with their own ancestral language, and maybe they've heard of Hebrew, Aramaic, Yiddish, maybe Ladino, but let me just see a show of hands. How many people see languages on here that they had never heard of before? Okay, so there is a lot to learn, and that is where the Jewish Language Project comes in. Our mission is to promote research on, awareness about, and engagement surrounding the many languages spoken and written by Jews throughout history and around the world. Why? Why is this important? For the speakers of these languages, for example, Galina Anisimova, a speaker of Juhuri, who has recorded her language through Mother Tongue, one of our partner organizations in Israel, and she feels it's important to maintain this language, to document it for future generations. And for people who spoke these languages and unfortunately are no longer with us, such as Rahel Gadi, a speaker of Lishan Didan, Jewish Neo-Aramaic from Urmia. And for the descendants of these speakers, such as Sam Miller, Rachel's grandson, who has learned this language from his grandmother, and for others who might want to learn these languages in the future. If we don't document them now, there will be no way for them to learn these languages in the future. And not just for those who descend from native speakers of these languages, but also students who want to just learn these languages and scholars who want to study these communities, because studying a language is a wonderful way to get to know a community and its history. It's also useful for Jews around the world to get to know each other. You know, it's just amazing to me that so many Jews don't know about their fellow Jews in other parts of the world, and learning about their languages is one way to get to know them. So my vision for the Jewish organization, that the initiative that I started 4 years ago, is I see it as a 25-year intervention in Jewish communal life. And so my vision is that by 2045, every known Jewish language variety will be well documented. Jews will be aware of the linguistic diversity of Jewish communities around the world, and Jews will feel a stronger connection to faraway Jewish communities, past and present. How are we going to do this? I'll tell you after the rest of the concert.
I want to talk about, before the last demonstration from the Yemenite culture, I want to talk about one more special rule that women had in the Yemenite community, which is the mekonenet, the lamenter. That was a job. It wasn't a job. It was a role, as one woman was responsible, and it was transferred from one woman to another, and it was kind of mystical job. These women came to the funeral or to the shiva, when you sit and talk about the descendant, and they were on the spot talking about the person and making everybody in the room or in the funeral to cry and mourn. Most of the time they didn't even know the person, but they knew how to talk and what words to say to make other people mourn and grieve. And I mean, I sometimes, to younger people, I said it's like rap when you do it on spot, but it was like different rhythm. They had this talent, this gift of words and melodies that they just invented it on spot. There was a huge research done by Vered Madal in Israel. She recorded so many mekonenot. Unfortunately, her computer was stolen, so we don't have the melodies. We have only the lyrics. So the next song that we're going to perform is actually a rewritten, a new traditional lament that I took from the text of Vered Madar, from the big research. She documented, don't remember many, like almost 50 women. I took some of the laments that she wrote, I rewrite them, and I change the lyrics so it will fit to talk about children. And it's not random, it was to put light about the story about the kidnapped children. When Yemenite people came to Israel, a lot of children were suddenly disappeared. A woman gave birth, and then the day after, they told her he's dead or she's dead. This story has an open wound in the Yemenite community, and I chose to raise the awareness to this story and to bring it to the forefront during music. So I took those lyrics and I added fragments from the Yemenite melodies of reading the Echa, which is the biggest lament we have in Judaism. So with these words and these melodies, we did this song, and we're using this handkerchief or the scarf. You can see in the picture, there is a documentary about one of the Mekonenot. They were using this handkerchief to cover the face and to dim the voice a little bit, and it created a really interesting sound, along with sobbing and panting, which also increased the emotional level of the listeners. So Shani will demonstrate a short part of this lament because it's really long. You already mentioned the album is outside, is connected, a lot of these songs that you heard here with more instruments, not just the sachen, and we did a really special and long lament for the awareness for the kidnapped children.
وعدود من دناه واللي تغيب تغباه يا ابني أمي وأباه وما بايلح النداه هبي الحزن مزباه واجد العيب له يا ابني لا تتقبل لا تهمه وهالك بك أحوج والجاه وأحوج من التباه وهالك يا دواله وداك ما يلقاه يمي أبي أنا دارسوس مني وعلى عد صوتك يحيي الباب ميمك مشغال افتحت الجمال بابكي مرعني ما ويمكو بيدي دمه ويعبي الدلاء شاهد حمادك واشكره وفوق الصيانة
Sorry, it's always hard to talk after this lament. You see that there is really an end of tradition. This tradition of the gathering of the Yemenite women actually ended with the immigration to Israel. When they moved from Yemen to Israel, first in the Lebet Tamar 1882, and then during the British Mandate, and then afterwards, after the state of Israel was established, with this immigration, with the move, actually everything changed. There were no same gathering places for the women. The social status have changed for better for the women, but also a lot of communities, sometimes they stayed together in the same new moshavim or cities, sometimes they were all displaced to different places. So all the natural spaces that women was gathering and the new circumstances that women needed to go out and work, couldn't stay 40 days in the house and sing. All of these changes caused to this tradition of the women singing to stop. And moreover, the men's songs and the Torah reading and the prayers are staying because it's something that continues all the time. The men's songs also stayed and continued. It was really well researched. There's a lot of researches about the Diwan. There are many books that wrote the notes of almost every song in the Diwan. But the women's songs didn't get the same attention. So my interest in that was this gap that I had, because my grandma, she came to Israel when she was around 10. Nowadays, she can't remember much. And we have this gap. We need to cover, I feel that I need to cover this gap of this intergenerational transparency of songs. You can, sorry. So that was one of my interests to create this album. This is from Al Kanfei Nesharim. You can skip a lot of. And there was not a lot of documentation. There was one book dedicated to the women's songs, but it was only the lyrics. So the song that we heard now is a new traditional song. Sorry, getting you up. El Mazaya, the Lamenter. This is the album, but this is a sound. This is my grandma on the cover when she was young, and it's dedicated to her. I feel like these memories are part of me, even though I don't remember them. And I have those traces of memory in my body, in my cultural DNA, in my musical DNA, and this is a big part of me. And all of this caused me to go back and research and learn about the Yemenite women's songs, and to dedicate the album for that. The text we used in this album is only Yemenite, because what happened in Israel when a lot of non-Yemenite people, like European musicians, learned the songs, they always took the parts in Hebrew. They never used the Yemenite words or the Arabic words, so we decided we're recovering, we're fixing, we're using this Judeo-Arabic language because it's missing. We need to talk it. I wish I could talk Yemenite with my grandma. I studied Arabic. It's not the same. It's almost. But I miss this part that I could speak with her in her own language. The melodies were taken from the original song. Sometimes I invented like new melodies in this song, and you can just go on. Yes, I will stop talking about the Yemenite music, and we will respect Shani's other help, and we'll play 2 Persian songs.
Thank you.
For you.
Yeah. So I talk about them a little bit. So my specialty is Yemenite songs and opera singing, but today I have to do also something Persian. And I decided to do these songs because this song is about a war and about running from a war. And I actually moved to Berlin 1 month before I did a relocation with my husband, 1 month before October. And I remember a video of young girls saying that all the Jews need to come back from their land, from their original land. And I thinking, where do I have to go? Well, to Yemen? To Iran? I don't have where to go. There is nowhere that I can go. And I decided to start singing in Europe, in Yemenite, in Persian, to start showing the world that I don't have nowhere else to go. And this is why I decided to sing this song today.
که میروم به سوی سرنوشت آرمان گذشته گذشته هم گذشته منم به جستجوی سرنوشت گذشته از جان باید بازگشت از توفان ها به نیمه شب ها دارم بایرم پیمان ها که بر فروزم آتش کورشته شب سیاه سفر کنم زیر راه گذر کنم نگه کنه گل من سرش که گم بدم من برای من میافکن
And the next song, my grandma teach me this song. I don't remember when, but it's really going with me all my life. So I'm very happy to sing it today.
Gol sangam, gol sangam, chi begam daletangam, مثل آفتاب اگر بارمان نتبی زردم و بیرنگم گل سنگم چی بگم من دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگر بر من نتبی زردم و بیرنگم همه دردم مثل توفان داره گردم همه دردم مثل توفان داره گردم بدم بستم که تو صحرا میپیچم دور تو میگردم مثل بارون اگر نباری که بارال من نداری بی تو پر میشم در روزه دل زنگت برم میزوزه گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگر بر من نتبی زردم و بیرنگم.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you everyone for listening to us and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much. We will have time for Q&A with the musicians, but first, a little bit more about the Jewish Language Project. So how are we going to raise awareness about Jewish languages and document them? Well, first, Jewish language documentation is a very important part of our work, and this involves research about Jewish languages, recording videos, making those videos accessible, and also dictionaries, and raising awareness about Jewish languages, educating about Jewish languages and in Jewish languages, and engaging people with Jewish languages, including in post-vernacular ways, which is what we are doing right now. How many people here speak Yemenite Judeo-Arabic? One, a little bit, 1.5, okay? But we've all just experienced Yemenite Judeo-Arabic, right? And also Persian. And it's very important to, what? Oh, Taimani, okay, yes. Okay, 2.5. It's very important to do all of these things because they influence each other. And we're doing this with our partner organizations in the Jewish Language Consortium, which we convened, which includes several organizations that do research and education about Jewish languages and about endangered languages more generally, and some of their focus is on Jewish languages. And I'm going to share a video about the importance of intergenerational transmission. This is a video made by Alan Niku.
چی تحدیثی که درست کنیم؟
She,
چی تحدیثی که درست کنیم برای شامل؟
it's so fast. هدشو ما
همه
همه
شمارند.
شمارندی.
بعد 40 سال ما دیگر بیرون اومدیم باز
خیلی مدیسی.
خیلی مدیسی.
خیلی مدیسی میگه. میشه من شما رو خیلی دوست دارم.
اعتماچت مدو.
I miss it the much.
الهامنتي يعني ان شاء الله مخابرم زن بگیرم الهامنتي سي بختگور از بختله گبرو لگ بیت بختگوری الهامنتي آفرین الهامنتي.
My name is Alon Azizi,
And I'm Adika Dusi.
and our families came to Israel from Sanandaj,
And from Bijal, which is in western Iran.
شالوم اسم من هایده آینچیو من تهران متولد با بیان ولی فامیلام اهل همدان.
My name is Galit Dardashti, and I'm an anthropologist and vocalist. I grew up in the United States speaking English, but my father grew up speaking Persian in Tehran, and he remembers my grandparents speaking only small phrases of Judeo-Isfahani and Judeo-Hamadani.
The mass immigration of Iranian Jews from Iran, left us with a hole in our hearts.
It's so important to record these languages while we still can, because for one, they allow those of us who feel disconnected from our Persian Jewish heritages a way in.
So when I heard about Nikki tongues and preservation of old languages, I left a message. I said, that's me. I can really help. And now I'm interviewing people with a passion. I'm interviewing people with the Judeo-Hamadani, Judeo-Kashani, Judeo-Isfahani. And when now I hear Hamadani, it takes me back to the bosom of my beloved grandmother and all the values that she instilled in our family.
Okay, I know we want to see more, but we don't want to spend too much time. Oops. Hold on. There we go. So in addition to our documentation work, we also do events. Most of our events have been online. Our first event was actually supposed to be in person on March 15th, 2020. And we converted it to an online event a few days before. And since then, we've done dozens of online events on all different topics and a few in-person events like this one. And we have one next week in New York. So if you know anyone in the New York area, please let them know. We're doing a Jewish Silk Road tour of Queens, where we're going to visit Bukharian, Persian, Georgian synagogues, bakeries, and restaurants, and museum. And we're going to learn about their cultures, their music, their food. We're going to do tastings and also learn about the important work to document their endangered languages. We also have a website, jewishlanguages.org, that has all sorts of resources. We have descriptions of 32 Jewish languages. We have exhibits around the holidays, for example, for Passover. And out there in the lobby, you can see a Haggadah supplement that has a lot of this information, songs like Echad Gadya and Echad Miyodea in several different Jewish languages. We also have a multilingual Omer counter, and you can see a poster of that in the hall as well. Online, we also have several dictionaries of contemporary Jewish language varieties, and in each of the Jewish English lexicon entries, you can hear how the word is spoken, and see definitions and other information about the word. We also engage on social media. So if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, did I forget one? LinkedIn. And then we also we post at least twice a week on these sites, especially around the holidays, but every week. And there's a lot of really interesting, what we call fun facts on social media. On TikTok, we have videos, and where's Isabel? Isabel is one of our the faces of the Jewish Language Project's TikToks. And we have merchandise to raise awareness beyond the digital domain in tote bags and t-shirts and pillows and all sorts of other things that you can buy. We also have curriculum. We're currently piloting a curriculum in Jewish middle schools. And where's Janine? Janine is creating that curriculum, so if you want to learn more about that, you can talk to her. And it's curriculum about Jewish migration patterns and languages and names. And then there's an artistic project that the students do after they interview their relatives to write about their own family heritage and how they fit into the Jewish mosaic. We also have several short films that are used in educational settings, and we do free consultation to Jewish organizations. For example, the Golden State Warriors wanted to have, for their Jewish Heritage Night t-shirts, not just Hebrew, but other Jewish languages too. So they, through the Jewish newspaper nearby, contacted us, and we gave them the phrase Golden State Warriors in all of these languages. And we're working on a Jewish baby name search tool and a museum exhibit with our partner ANU, Museum of the Jewish People in Tel Aviv, that will be exhibited in any institution around the world. It's just you print out these panels and you can display them. And our next initiative is what we're calling tentatively Heirloom, recovering our Jewish family languages, where we will match people who want to learn an endangered language with a mentor who speaks that language. And so, in particular, if you are a speaker of an endangered Jewish language, we would love to have your services to meet regularly with someone, likely a young person with heritage in that community, to learn that language. And especially with Iraqi Judeo-Arabic, because we know there are a lot of people who speak that language who are interested in passing that language on to the next generation. But really, any of these endangered Jewish languages, if you know someone who speaks these languages and would be interested in helping us with this, we would love to hear from you. And now we're going to turn to two of our young staff members, Samuel Shimon Miller and then Alan Niku, to tell you about their experiences learning and engaging with their ancestral languages.
Hello. So as you might have caught earlier, my name is Sam, and I'm a speaker of Lishani Den, Jewish Neo-Aramaic from Urmia, Iran, where my mother was born. And as a kid, I quickly saw that my language was quickly disappearing. Not me, hardly no one else my age knew anything more than a couple words. And I really set out to learn it because this is my heritage. And and while I can't say I'm completely fluent yet, I think I did pretty good so far, and we're getting there. And eventually I came to work for the Jewish Language Project to help with their documentation efforts for Lishendi Den, and over the past couple of years I've worked with them for a few projects, but the one I'm perhaps the most proud of is this recording of an oral history of my grandmother, Ilhama Nechla. God should give her rest. She passed away a few months ago, and this was done just before. I transcribed it, I translated it. It's now, if you search up Lishan Den, her face is the first thing that'll come up. It's the very first Google result, and you'll get a short video of her talking about her life. I also, as part of this, I made a video with my mother, and we were making a haliq, yani charoset. It's different, what we call charoset. If you go outside, we have a map for all the different names for charoset in Jewish languages. But in general, this is, to me, doing this kind of stuff it's to have a record that we exist and to bear witness to our heritage. It's how we honor the lives of those who came before us. And to conclude my speech, I wanted to ask something, a request of you guys, which is to ask the other people in your family what languages they spoke, their parents spoke, their grandparents spoke, what kind of people were they? What traditions did they value, and to listen to their stories and to talk about them, because if we don't do it, who will?
Thank you, Sam. Now we turn to Alan Niku.
All right, this feels like I'm doing a stand-up comedy set. I'm Alan, and my grandfather was from Sanandaj, that's him right there in the middle. Sanandaj is a city in western Iran, and in Sanandaj they speak a language very closely related to Sam's language, which we call Hulaula, and it's a type of Neo-Aramaic. It's Jewish Neo-Aramaic. It's a little bit different than Sam's. We just met yesterday, and we've been speaking in our dialect to each other to see if it works, and it kind of works. And an interesting thing is that I didn't grow up speaking this language at all. I grew up speaking Farsi. That's what we spoke in my family because it wasn't passed down. And eventually I moved to LA and I started hanging out with my dad's friends who speak this language and some distant family members. And I started to learn it. And now, kind of like Sam, I don't think I'm fluent, but I'm pretty good. I hang out with Shahnaz over there. That's Shahnaz. She's my main teacher. And she's been working on a dictionary of this dialect for many, many years. And what's been really cool is that speaking this language, it helps me understand my grandfather. He died when I was 3, so I never really knew him. But it feels like I'm speaking the words that he spoke. It feels like I have a part of him that I didn't have before, that other people in my family don't really have. So when I started working with the Jewish Language Project, bringing in a little bit more of this language into our resources, I started to learn about other Iranian Jewish languages. I learned that I have ancestors from cities like Yazd and Shiraz and Kashan and Esfahan and all these other places. Each town had its own language, and nobody was recording these languages either. So I started to learn them as well. I haven't learned them as well as I have Hulaula yet, but I hope to. And actually, it's been really cool watching this concert and watching people who live in Israel who are bringing back this language that they don't necessarily speak anymore, but bringing it back in song form. And it's very inspirational. I actually take a lot of inspiration from the Yemenites, who I think have preserved their language and pronunciation and customs very, very well. And I hope to be able to continue to do that for Iran and Kurdistan and all these places that all these languages come from. So I'm really glad to see all you here. Thank you.
Okay, now it's your turn. We want to hear your stories, but we can't go around the room and hear everyone's, so I'm going to ask everyone to turn and talk to somebody that you don't know and tell them your family language stories. What languages have been in your family, and did they get lost over the years? Do you still speak them? So just do this for about 5 minutes. Okay, we're going to get started. Okay, I know you probably want to keep talking, but let's come back together. We want to make sure to have time for Q&A. So I know there are some questions for our singers. No. Okay. Yeah, we'll end with that. Okay, we have a request for an encore, and we will do that at the end. But first, we understand there might be some questions. So let's go with questions for our singers and for our panelists, or for me. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, and we will repeat the question after you say it. Yes.
I have a question for the singers, which is, you spoke about women's songs and men's songs, and were those in traditional Yemenite culture, were those exclusively the men would sing together and the women would sing together? Would they ever reach up with, like, as soon as women would hear the men would hear the
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So women heard the men. The Moranayat was considered not like, it didn't have a good reputation, the women singers. So it was kind of not forbidden, but like not good to listen to them. Even kids were like, taken apart for the singing women. So it wasn't, I mean, the community was kind of separate. So even in events, the women were sitting in one area and the men in the other area. Women were more exposed to the men's songs, but not the opposite way. This week we're doing a small tour. We're here today, and we're going to be in Harrisburg this Thursday, and next week in Pittsburgh we're going to have a big conference about feminist Mizrahi music, which we'll be part on. We're going to sing with Laura El Khalasi, which sings French Moroccan music also. Hopefully to do more of these. Yes. Okay, so I'll go for the first question. Can you remind me again? What was the question? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so as you said, the women in Yemen didn't know how to read and write. They didn't went to class, they didn't went to the Mori. The Mori was the teacher of the boys from young age, from 3 years. They start to, we say in Ashkenaz, leidin, to read in the Torah, to practice and do the melodies. Women didn't have the chance to read and write it, so the music was just orally transferred from one woman to another. This is why when they immigrated to Israel and we stopped to have these communities, everything stopped. What happened in Israel, I'm sorry, maybe not everybody's seen me. What happened in Israel is that there was the Phonoteca, or the National Sound Archive. A lot of very early stages of ethnomusicologists were really curious and fascinated by the Yemenite music because it was so preserved and sounded so ancient and so different even from the Persian music or Turkish music, because it doesn't use like maqams. The melodies are very like modes. So there were a lot of recordings of all the styles, mostly the men songs, but also the women songs. But it was never transcribed into notes. There is one book with words by Nissim Gamlieli, which did like a big collection, but that's it. The only songs that really survived time was the wedding songs and the China songs, because this continued to happen. The rest of the songs are kindly disappearing, unless they were recorded in some point of time. Yeah, what the second question you talk about? So the melodies, if you go to ethnomusicology and a lot of folk songs, it's called the moving melodies or the transferring melodies. And it happens a lot in Yemenite music, even in the Diwan music. There is no like one melody for each poem. So you can sing the same song when it could have like 3 different melodies. In the women's songs, so it had to be very short melodies and very memorable and very rhythmic, because it was made on spot. And they had like to remember it and to memorize it. So it was always like short, rhythmic, and very not big melodies, not big octaves. And it also was, I said, it was influenced by the Muslim women music. So they influenced each other. So they took from them and they took from them, and that was kind of melodies of moving. So yeah, you can definitely hear some of the songs with the same melody or the same patterns. Most of the books which I have encountered are in Hebrew. There's not a lot of books in English, which is really bad and sad. I don't know books in English. I need to think about it and like know the names. There are a lot of, in Hebrew. There are many books about the stories. I mean, my grandfather's library is huge. You can find stories about the traveling, the immigration, the songs, the culture. I can't recall right now English versions of those books, but I can look for you. Yes, you had one. Yeah, we're Yemenite. Yes, definitely. It was part of my research in my master's degree was about the integration of Yemenite music in the Israeli culture. And it was really interesting because a lot of European composers were really inspired by Yemenite music, which is really different. And They try to create new Israeli music by using Western methods and compositions on Yemenite music. So in some way, I think also my album is kind of answer to that, because I grew up on both cultures, not in a way like they came kind of from outside. They usually didn't go into the community, they just spoke with someone from outside. So yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of influence on the pop music, on concert music. Yeah.
So we know that the political class during the founding of Israel is mostly Ashkenazi, but there's such a cultural piece coming from the Mizrahi and other diasporas. I'm wondering, now in 2024, do you have a sense of like the civil rights situation has improved since the 50s in Israel? Like, are things better now for the other diasporas?
That's a tough question. How do you answer that? Things are getting better. I think there's a lot of awareness and a lot of, I can speak for myself, there's a lot of awakening of the third generation as myself in culture, in research. And I feel that the third generation of immigration is also researched, but the third generation is kind of speaking out all the former generations, the bad things they've been through, all the explosions and everything, all the kipuach, and so it's getting better. We have a large group. I'm part of this, we call it the network, the Masorti network, the traditional network, people which mostly come from Mizrahi descent. And we are kind of creating this new cultural, social movement to bring more the voices of Mizrahi Jews and Mizrahi cultures, because it's a huge part of Israel, a huge part of the Jewish community, but it doesn't have the same impact in the public level. So it's a huge movement. We call it Areshet HaMasorti, the Masorti network, or Torah Zahav. It's the same network, and we are working on it. There are some representatives that came from this network and were chosen to the local, city halls now in Israel, which is, so we're starting this movement. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So you might be asking yourself, how can I help? What can I do here? Well, you can purchase their album and listen to this music at home by their little USB drive that they're providing. You can join our movement to raise awareness about Jewish languages. You can provide financial support. So much of what we do, we provide for free, and we can only do that because of your generous donations. And you can do that by clicking on this QR code here. I think I'm standing in front of it. And so you can feel free to take out your phone and get that QR code right now, or you can just go to jewishlanguages.org, and that will also help you find all the other resources we have available online. You can join our email list to find out about future events, and you can follow us on social media. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, where we will be posting clips from this concert so you can share them with your friends. You can spread the word about Jewish languages by sharing our social media posts and using word of mouth beyond the internet. You can buy and display our merchandise, and you can volunteer for our upcoming initiative, Heirloom, to as a native speaker of an endangered Jewish language, as a learner of one of those languages, or as an activist to raise awareness about these languages. So I want to thank you for coming, and we're going to end with an encore of 2 songs by popular demand. Right? 2 songs? Okay. So we'll let the singers take us out, and we'll see you in the lobby afterwards. Thank you for coming.
Okay, we didn't practice it at all. Yeah, just okay, just need a note. I don't know, just think about it. Okay, this is a special request to honor Ofra Chaza, the great singer of all the time. כולם ברחו יעלו אם ננעלו דלתי נדים דלתי מרום לא ננעלו אל חי מרום אמרת אהובים כולם ברחו יעלו אל חי Okay, thank you very much.